Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, a safe place for leading with your heart. Hey, thanks for being here. You, Me, Empathy is the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective, a collaborative mental health community designed to empower each of us to grow our capacity for empathy, vulnerability, and emotional wayfinding. Just a friendly reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. No one is just a silly boy with a feely heart. You can support the show by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts, following us on social media at Yumi Empathy and Feely Human, and joining the Feely Human Collective community at feelyhuman.co. And now your host, Known Wells.
Hello, Feely Humans. Welcome to another episode of You, Me, Empathy. My name is Known Wells. I am a silly, feely boy. I love dogs, and I love you, and I love empathy, truly. And I'm the creator of the show. I'm also the founder of the Feely Human Collective. If you want to learn more about that, go to feelyhuman.co. I am so happy and grateful to have Dr. Jennifer Mullan on the show today. Dr. Jen is at Decolonizing Therapy on Instagram. Just a joy, an honor, a privilege to get to speak with her. It was a beautiful conversation. We really got into it. We had big feels. I had goosebumps in a number of moments. It was just a really rich conversation where we talked about staying open enough to be overwhelmed, why burnout is understandable but not natural, what happens when there isn't space to have big feelings, especially for BIPOC, queer, non-binary, other marginalized humans, and, as I mentioned, decolonizing therapy and capitalism's toxic influence on the mental health field specifically. Really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you do too. We really get into it. And give Dr. Jen a follow on Instagram at Decolonizing Therapy. Go to her website, which is drjennifermullan.com. And she's also hosting a honoring our Sacred Rage webinar. There's a webinar replay. If you go to honoringrage.com, you could check that out. All those links are also in the show notes at feelyhuman.co. Anyways, Dr. Jen is wonderful and amazing, and you should connect with her and learn more from her and support her. Before we get to the episode, as a reminder, if you haven't yet, please leave a rating and review for You, Me, Empathy in Apple Podcasts. Please do that if you haven't done that. What is wrong with you? I'm just kidding. I start shaming you. No, that's not what I do. But please, I know more of you listen, and there's only 180-something, maybe 90-something reviews at this point. I would really love to get to 200 ratings at least. So let's do it. Let's make that happen. I really appreciate it. It does help out the show. Being an independent podcaster, it's a lot of work. It truly is. It's a lot of work. I don't have any help. So that is a way you can support me. Another way is to sign up for my Patreon over at patreon.com/feelyhuman. I'm releasing currently a monthly episode called Movies That Make Us Feel, where a guest and I talk about a movie that makes us feel. Last episode was on Dirty Dancing with my friend Katya Litsky. So check that out at patreon.com/feelyhuman. And the last thing I wanted to mention is an update on the community, the membership community that I'm building for Feely Human. It's going slow, and there's a number of reasons for that. One, it's just a lot. I want to do it right. I really want to build this thing right and be meaningful and useful for you. And with that comes a lot of building out the framework, building out documentation, code of conduct, all that sort of stuff I'm working through. The other piece of it too is I have a few different day jobs. I'm running an Airbnb. I'm, house partner, taking care of two dogs, and that's a lot. And then the other piece is like, I've been struggling with chronic headaches, and that has not been fun, and that has made me feel not like myself, which has been hard. And I've been grieving that a little bit and trying to stay hopeful and not be in the hopelessness place, which I've been, thinking that it's forever. And the reality is it's not going to be forever. It may look different tomorrow. And so I'm trying to hold that. Maybe you can hold that too for yourself if you're experiencing some big emotions today, hard feelings. Know that it's not forever. It may be now, it may be different in 10 minutes. So anyways, that's where I'm at. That's an update on the community. If you want to keep connected, please sign up for the newsletter at feelyhuman.co. Okay, let's get to the episode, shall we, with Dr. Jennifer Mullan on decolonizing therapy. Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective. On this show, we explore the struggles, the triumphs, the brights and the darks we face as humans trying to get by on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. The intent of You, Me, Empathy is to talk openly without judgment about our mental health, our neuroses, our shared anxieties and worries, to create a dialogue that is vulnerable and deeply human and empathetic, and to share that dialogue with others to inspire emotional and cognitive collaboration and insight so we can, hand in hand, break down the stigma that make us feel shame and guilt for struggling, for feeling our feelings, for being feely humans. You, Me, Empathy is a brave place designed to inspire the beauty in each of us, because each of us, in all of our kaleidoscopic parts, makes up a magical whole that deserves to be seen. Today, I am full of joy to be here with clinical psychologist, teacher, and writer, quite profoundly and affectionately, the Rage Doctor, and founder of Decolonizing Therapy. It's Dr. Jennifer Mullan. Hello, Dr. Mullan.
Hello. It is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for holding this space. Thank you for this podcast. And thank you for making space energetically and in this world for empathy and for big feelings and small feelings and feely things. So I'm really excited.
It's my jam. It's the jam I spread on my toast each morning. It's the stuff that lights me up. And also it lights me up and it also scares me, right? Mm-hmm. Before we started recording, you said something about like how it's the thing that is both like the thing that's our heart, but it's also the hard thing, right? It's like the scary thing. And like I've been reflecting on this thing about like how sort of the work we do as humans and trying to like lean harder into activism and wholeness and deepening our connection to community and you know, me as a white cis man doing that work is different from what you're doing right in the world. And me feeling maybe overwhelmed at times, right? But like wanting to stick to this idea of like, stay overwhelmed, stay open enough to be overwhelmed. Yes, protect yourselves at times. Yes, have some boundaries at times, but stay open enough to be overwhelmed. Stay curious, stay open, right?
Yeah. I'm sort of like letting that waterfall cascade, so to speak, right? Yeah. Because there's something something, many things that might be healing. And even initially when hearing, and thank you for like stating that, like a white cis man saying words like that, the body, my body, right, will, okay, like tense up, or like, because usually in my experience, and that is not the case here, but like usually in my experience, there's something bad, quote unquote, that will drop, or there's something that you're going to want from me, or there's something, there's like a tensing that happens,
Sure.
right? And transparency. And then there's a bit of a relief. I'm like, okay, we named something that's here and that's like always in my body, even if I don't want it to be, right? Like it's like a consciousness of what's happening around me at all times. And I know I'm not alone in that. And then I have multiple privileges that allow me to forget it sometimes too, and so on and so forth. But it sometimes feels so big that I have to remember that it's not the only important aspect of my identity, even as a person or anyone else's identity, right? Like it's not the only thing, that there's so much more, many more layers of humanness that are there. And not or for me,
always
but,
and
right. And like you said, the staying uncomfortable, I feel as though that is what helps so many of us grow. And that's what helps so many of us. I remember taking this for years, this undoing racism training by People's Institute of Survival and Beyond. And I thought I knew everything I needed to know about identity and racism, but I was constantly learning and unlearning and relearning. And one of their principles or guidelines would be push to your growing edge, and it kind of reminds me of that term. I know we hear it, but do we embody it? Right. And I know for myself that I'm not always embodying or allowing people go to that growing edge. I either want to rescue or like help people not feel the big uncomfortable feelings, because I don't know, people pleasing, because whatever my stuff is, or I want to bring someone along with me really fast without allowing them to go through that journey. And sometimes that can consist of really heavy feelings or sadness or overwhelm or rage, right? But that's just my own personal process. So yeah, when you talked about the staying in the uncomfortable and that being okay, I just sort of got this image of like whales and dolphins, love the ocean, going in and out and like coming up for a breath a bit, and then like, okay, but I'm going to still dive. And sometimes it's a little shallow and sometimes it's really deep.
Yes.
But I always notice them mostly traveling with a calf or with a family. Like I don't think we're meant to like do that completely alone all the time. Yeah.
I love the ocean analogy. That's nice. That feels scary and warm at the same time. The ocean is a vast mystery, beautiful and healing, and also terrifying at the same time. And what is like, I think an important part of it for me is, so I think about like, I've been running this little collective community called Feely Human for the past few years. And one of the things that I've been leaning harder and harder into is this idea around like what is the impact that I have in how I show up in the world, in spaces specifically. So like when I show up and I lead little workshops on empathy, like what is the impact I have on the 10 people who are there, right? What is the impact I have when I go and lead a workshop at a hospital with nurses, for instance, right? What assumptions am I making about these nurses? What projections am I putting onto them? What armor are they going to have because I am not a mental health therapist? Like all of these things, right, are part of that equation. And I want and a part of me is like, well, I need my empathy to be useful. I want it to be useful, right? And I need to consider the fact that like everyone is coming with all of their own experiences. How can I be mindful of all of it and considerate of all of it? And sort of being in that sort of mental and cognitive and emotional fervor on a 24/7 basis can be exhausting. And I want to do it, right? And I need to do it. And I feel like it's my duty to do it, right? As a white man, as a person of immense privilege, right? You know, and that's a piece of it, right? That's a piece of the story. That's a piece of the building block, right? So like that's the unpacking that I am doing and am always doing. And you said something very important to me, which is like this idea around like learning and unlearning, right? Like a big thing that I've learned in doing sort of empathy work is this idea around like there's like this idea of like knowing and unknowing. Like there's no end game there. Like it's really like you learn and you unlearn and you learn and you learn something today and then tomorrow it's gone. And that's like terrifying.
Yeah.
But as you know, as a therapist, we as humans hunker down into our identities, into our comforts, because it's a protection, because the world is scary, because we need it, because it's how we've done it, legacy, etc., capitalism, whatever it may be, because it's always what we've done. And then it becomes part. But how do we shed that? How do we, I mean, this is the work that you do. This is core to what you do. It's messy. It's mushy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Right.
Sorry, I'm like all over the place.
No. Oh no, please. No apologies here. No, I'm loving it. This is the kind of conversations I love having. And yeah, what struck me, what was happening in my body as you were talking is I do think it's important for all of us to do the work that feels, it sounds cheesy, but like that we're meant to do in this world. But I believe after 20 plus years of supporting people, usually, not always, when they're in places of deep crisis, right? That what anchors, tethers, or pulls people out of the jaws of such crisis is usually finding some flippin' joy, right? Or finding like, hey, what are you good at? And they're like, what? I'm like crying, like what? I'm like, no, right? Because we've been week after week after week, like trolling, like digging into the muck and the ish. And so like, when's the last time you sang? Right? When's the last time you poorly danced? When's the last time you let yourself move and then maybe collapse on the floor on a heap? Or do you have space to do that in your home? Is it safe for you to do that in your apartment? Do you have an apartment? Right? Like all of these, again, hence why for me, it was so multi-layered with the people that I work with, really realizing like, wait, therapy just can't be one note, because not everyone, it's not safe to look at cognitive distortions, like, or that doesn't even resonate for some people. Right. And so as you were talking, what really stood out to me was just like, we all want to feel seen and feel good. And when we can do more of, in my opinion, what we're good at and what comes natural, like not good at for like this ego thing, but just sort of like, well, I'm really good at holding spaces for empathy and listening to people and letting people feel seen. And I might agree that your being in your presence might allow other people too to feel like, okay, so there is some good in this world, and there are some, white cis identified men that can feel, right? Because I can't tell you how many spaces I've been in professionally and personally over the last 3 months in particular, where misogyny or again, with men of color or queer men or Black identified men. I can't tell you how much harm I have seen come up, or even harm that I might have experienced that they didn't realize they were engaging in, or me being a facilitator and watching something happen and have to pull it apart or help tease it apart, or related to men having trouble feeling their feelings or feeling empathy or feeling compassion for self as well as others. And particular, and again, I don't know what this is, if it's lately, if I know it's been there, but in particular, right? I know this isn't a new thing, but in the last few months, it's felt really big, really big. And actually, I was just talking about it on the call an hour before I was on with you. And I wonder what that does to our bodies, what we kind of know, but when we don't feel safe or when we feel like there might be an attack on every angle, and I don't just mean physical attacks, although we know that that happens all the time. But, and again, I don't believe in the binary, but the way many of us have been socialized, as men and women in this world. I want to honor that as well. And when I think of children being harmed and what happens when that's public in the world, and when I see reproductive rights attempted to be messed with and taken away, like, this is up. That's what I'm trying to say. It's up in the world. And I think that a lot of us are living this out on personal levels. Like, what happens collectively, happening individually or interpersonally, and what's happening interpersonally or has not been dealt with or processed or loved on or space to be explored interpersonally and individually will without a doubt spew collectively and globally. And that's sort of, I guess, what I've been called to do in this world, to go full circle to what my rambles. That's what I'm called to do, is that my body will automatically process what's happening out there. Even if I don't watch the news, but even if I don't pick up a newspaper, or even if I don't talk to someone about what's happening, my nervous system, and it's not in an egoic way. I just, as a kid, I've always been a barometer for what's happening around me. And it took many years with teachers and learning and unlearning and messing it up and still messing it up and messing it up again to figure out, like, what's mine and what belongs to an environment around me.
Woof. I feel that. I feel that, Jennifer. So let's talk about the men thing for a second.
Yeah.
Because what I hear you saying maybe is that there's maybe a reactivity, like a hyper reactivity that's happening that's not steeped in maybe curiosity or stillness or critical thinking even, right? It's just my body just like reaction, right? And there's like maybe there's a defensiveness to it. Maybe there's a certainly I've seen this in some men in my life where, and I've tried to push back on it in soft ways where it's like, I need to insert my voice here, right? Especially white men, white straight men. I feel like my voice is getting censored. I feel like my voice is being taken away. I need to reinsert it.
Yes.
That feels frustrating. That feels, I understand it.
Yeah.
And I think about that a lot because I am someone who had a father who was very abusive, cheated on my mom for 30 years, like hit me, like just not a good person, right? So I had this like person in my life who I saw early on where I thought, okay, don't trust men, right? And to this day, men have to work harder to earn my trust. And that's unfair. And I still am unlearning some of that. A thing happened the other day, Jennifer. It was very funny.
Yeah.
Jessica, my partner of 15 years, we are in this parking lot. We're getting coffee. This guy pulls in. He backs in his truck. First of all, backing in a car, already triggering me. Takes up 2 spots. And I'm like, and I want to, my defenses are like, wanting to like just attack, and I'm like feeling anger, but I like, protect it in some funniness, and I say, this fucking guy. But it's just my own insecurity. It's my own attachments to like this idea around sort of toxic men that I've had in my life for the longest period of time. Anyways, what are your thoughts on that? Like, why do you think like you've experienced some of that? And I'm, first of all, very sorry that you've experienced that. I've experienced that. It's hard to see. It's just, and it is.
Yeah.
It is the fabric. So how do we address it? How do we dismantle it?
Yeah. Am I allowed to cuss on here?
Oh, fuck yes. Fuck
okay,
yes.
I forgot to ask you. That was going to be my comment. Fuck yeah. Because I love where you're going, or what we're talking about, what we're like kind of immersed in here. Number one, as you were speaking, thank you for sharing, right? And thank you for sharing about your dad and his violence. And I had a similar father, although it wasn't physical, the abuse. And now we have a really lovely relationship, and he'll probably listen to this podcast. I'm like, hey, Dad. He's like really proud of me, which is like the most ironic thing, because growing up was really tough for me, being a strong girl and with a strong dad who saw me likely with a very soft, gentle mama. It's like the form of like angelic, I don't know, equivalent of a human, and passive, and me being much more like my dad in terms of like shaking and moving. And I want this, and I don't want to do that. And why do I have to put away the dishes? You put away your own dish. That's not fair. Like I was like that kid at a very young age. Like, that's not fair. And they're like, you don't get to decide. And it wasn't always cute. Let's put it that way. Right.
Yep.
It wasn't always cute, and it was really scary. And it was really scary for my little brother more than me, probably. I got angry and he shrunk. And so, yeah. And so I'm saying this and sharing this as well is because, so many thoughts. Sorry. I'm sharing this because I think it is so important that we like name it. Like we name the interpersonal experiences that continue to feed or have led up to how we feel about what we feel about who and what. And so I think there's one is like that level of insight.
Yep.
Two, knowing that it is steeped in history. And I'm not just talking like historical history, but, even if we look at, I don't know, what show was it? I mean, Mom, we're watching like Why Women Kill, or I don't know what it was. It was something, something like kind of mystery, SVU-ish, whatever, and campy at the same time, which we liked. But it was showing like women in the 50s or the 60s. And my mom was like, oh, we were sitting here together while she was visiting me. And she's like, kind of like me. I was like that. Like your dad would hold out the cup and I would pour, and then other people would look at me like, what are you doing? We're in 2000 and what's happening? Like what's going on here? This energy. And it was like beautiful to watch that intergenerational like consciousness and healing of my mom being able to look at me and say, you're not like that. I'm so glad you're not like that. I'm so glad somehow I raised you to not be there and meet your partner and say, hey, love, let me fill this up for you. Right. That's just love and connection, but to also be treated like a full human. And that masculine energy, let's call it, right? Like that masculine energy has not always been divine masculine. That's how I'd like to call it, right? That it has been used to be aggressive to a point of harming, forcing, making someone do something they don't want to do, and igniting fear that I think they have already felt, or y'all have already felt, like historically, So I really do think, as you were talking about that interaction, that would probably be me in my head too. Like, what a fucking idiot. Like, what an idiot. You're going to hurt someone. You're so entitled. I probably would have an image in my mind of who they are and what they look like.
Sure. Yeah.
What part of town they're coming from. Right. Like there would be in a millisecond. It would all download, right? And then my stuff gets mixed in with what's happening politically. And I think that this is how it goes in the world. So when I talk about everything's political, I'm not like, I could give a crap. I'm not talking about Democrats and Republicans. And I'm talking about like our very fabric of psychologically what we've learned, how we've experienced others, how they've made us feel, why racism, sexism, classism is such a thing in this world right now and how it has always been, but perhaps the eye or the, social media is allowing us to see more clearly what's in there and maybe hiding in some of the shadows and some of our books, our histories, our passed down stories from our families. And so, I think that I'm noticing the masculine or men identified people at this time. What I'm noticing is also a fear, like you said, of like, hey, I don't want to be like, I have a voice too. I'm not irrelevant, right? Like I matter. And, how long has your front and centered mattering without having other feedback or listening to other perspectives? Like that's dangerous, right? So what is it like to not be centered? Not you, I'm talking to you, but in general, like masculinity. Like, so what is it like to not always be centered anymore, right? Or what is it like for lighter skinned women of color to not be centered and to center on darker skinned Black women? Or what is it like, so all of us, I think, are looking at the shadowy energy in ourselves and in larger society. And so I don't think it gets eradicated. And I don't think that there's a cure, because I've got asked these questions like, all right, so what do we do? What do we do? Yeah. And I say this lovingly, like, usually it's folks that have been trained with PhDs and doctorates, like, okay, Dr. Mullan, what do we do? What do we do? Right. Or white identified folks that want to like move, as we talked about, like out of that discomfort and like, oh, I just want to know what to do to be a good ally. So I can appreciate that because it does suck. It does suck to sit in a place where you really have to like, I don't want to keep looking at this. I don't want to keep feeling this.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's a symptom of the issue is like wanting the checkbox out of it. Yeah. But the reality is it's always going to be messy and mushy, I feel.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah. And so I believe your work and work that intersects like ours, right? Because I feel like we're talking about similar things here, right? We're asking people to look at humanity, look at their humanity, look at their humanity in each other. What is it like to feel and hold space for what someone else might be feeling? Why are so many people so fucking angry right now, right? Maybe that needs to come up. Maybe we need to not per se in a super destructive, harming, gonna smash your face in, but in this, like what happens when there's not healthy places and spaces to smash something, right? What happens, right? When little Black and brown boys are like arrested, second grade, true stories, unfortunately, arrested for saying no and like slamming a table or pushing a table over. I'm not saying that could feel safe for other kids, but how do we handle that without calling a police officer in and showing them that their anger, that their big feelings that are super normal because they were given to them when they were born in this world, right? Like that these big feelings deserve some space. Right. Sorry, I got distracted. This crow got really close to my window and I was like, that's interesting. So yeah, like how do we let these kids know that it's okay to feel this, but not just that it's okay to feel it, but then how are we educating teachers, nurses, 10 people in your workshops and my workshops, right? That, okay, it's one thing is to know that, yeah, we need to let kids feel these feelings, but two, what does that look like in real time? When you're in that office or you're in that classroom, right? What does that look like when you're activated and you're like, he can't disrupt this. I had a bad day. I'm arguing with my partner or my dog is sick or right. Yeah. Like I don't have enough money in my bank account or whatever. My child is dying or you have teachers, nurses, people going through their own thing, domestic workers going through their thing and trying to hold space for what might be happening in front of them that feels like a train wreck in their mind, in their body, or it might be activating and triggering to them.
Yeah.
Right. And so I don't know, when I think about shifting things, one of the big things that comes up for me is like, know thyself and hold space for other. Right. Like I do believe, and I talk like with my students and peer ed groups, I don't work at the university anymore, but for years I did. And I held space for most students that were majority, not all, BIPOC identified, queer identified, or non-binary in some way, shape, or form, and feeling never meditated in their life, never been to a beach, not all of them, but majority of them, never been out of the inner city, in which, they're in college now. And I know for a fact that these people can talk about these big feelings, right? All of us can, right? Individuals are say like, well, it's not safe. Like if I get emotional, what happens if I do something to scare you, Dr. Jen? Like if I get emotional and I raise my voice, are you going to say that I've tried to harm you? And sitting with that, like I had to sit back a few times, like making that eye contact, sometimes making sure I'm not tearing up to make it about me.
Yeah.
Right? Although I want to tear up because I'm like, that's beautiful. Yes. Right. But meanwhile, like, it's not about me. Ooh, hold that, process that later, and then create that space. What do you need right now? Like, how can we let you scream and shout? Can we make a contract? Can we make what can we do? And witnessing youth, not all of them, some of them in their 30s, like start to talk about their feelings for the first time. And then the kind of work that they're now doing in this world, not because I was a good advisor or therapist, but because I just held space for emotions that people don't allow in a world, right? And I normalized it and said, hey, like people of color can do that. And your queer, non-passing self, dark-skinned self can't just do that anywhere, unfucking fortunately, right? And let's be real about why not. And let's be real about how you could get killed in the wrong place, in the wrong space for these emotions in this place. So now I'm all over the place, but I hope it makes sense what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. And it's beautiful and it's essential. And I want to go back to the example of the guy parking in the two parking spots, because what I think is crucial about this, so both of us are triggered by this example, right? And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm triggered. I'm thinking about like toxic men. I'm thinking about my dad, right? I'm thinking about the whole history. And I think that's important cognitively. I think it's also important to let some of that go and to be, I'm working through stuff, right? Can't always hold on to the past, right? I'm also thinking about like empathy and how I need not assume, like I need to let go of assumptions and I need to examine my bias, right? That's a big piece of it. And so with that comes disarming myself a little bit and softening. And a layer of that is I'm also a white, straight man. You, for example, you experience that. You're also triggered, but you're not a white, straight man. You maybe put up some armor. You may be triggered in some ways. But you're going to be putting up some armor that's maybe a little different and maybe that's more understandable, right? So when we're trying to create space for people to have conversations that are hard and soft and curious around our triggers, around things that are uncomfortable, right? And bringing awareness of the intersectionality of our experiences when I, as a white man, maybe can be less protected because I am not systemically oppressed and you can be more protected. Like, how do we be more mindful of that on a, I guess, cognitive level, like on a vocal level?
Yeah. I think what you said for me really stands out, which is that I have to like stop and check myself, right? And that sounds so, any of us, meaning any of us, that's like, what did Ice Cube say? Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Right?
Yeah.
I say it all the time. I'm like, not my words, but check yourself before you wreck yourself.
It's
And
a
I
good
mean
piece
it.
of
And,
advice.
right? It's like it is up there in my top 5 favorites because we're so activated so often. And there's so much to be as we both talked about. There's so many layers to the intersectional reasons and ways of why an individual might be activated. But both of us identified with having fathers that activated some of that for us.
Yeah.
And so I do think that inner child, inner teen, inner hurt spot, soft spot work, whatever that looks like for a person, and that can look a million different ways. And I've seen it and worked on it a million different ways. And every time I think I'm done tending to little Jenny, literally last Monday, another layer comes up and you're like, okay, time to talk to you again. Time to set up a little altar, a little table, honoring you in your picture. Okay, time to do a little bit more work. So I do think that it's worth it for individuals to just start talking about feelings. And it doesn't always look like therapy for people, right? Which is, I'm a big advocate for it. It doesn't mean just anyone can do whatever and hold, but most people could just hold space. You can listen. Like, I think it's healthy for anybody, but even 2 cis white men, right, to talk about something, and I'm gonna make a generalization besides sports, to talk about something, right? Because if I hear 2 more let's do a barbecue, 2 dudes are just like, oh yeah, and I'm just thinking, man, like,
you will never find me at a barbecue talking about sports ever, to be very clear.
Thank goodness. And not that that's never right, and not that a woman couldn't be or what have you, but I think that when there's this little barrier, there's sort of like ectoplasmic like pouch that is pierced, so to speak, when we get a little bit real. When someone says something that everyone else is like, oh, okay, they're talking about their divorce. Oh, shit. Okay. Oh, wait, they're talking about, or they're not comfortable with their body right now. Or this person just said, you know what? No, I don't agree with that. But like, I hear what you're saying. But, like a little moment of like, shit just got real. And usually all of our bodies, even if we agree with it or we don't, there's that little tensing, I think. Right. And psychologically that happens. Cognitively, we start thinking about, am I safe? Am I not safe? Do I have to get out of this? Do I make a joke? Do I change the subject? Do I agree? Do I have their back? What's my privilege? Right? It all happens, or should. And again, I'm saying all this because I think it's actually helpful. Right? I think it's actually helpful. And one of my favorite things to do or teach people to do is to scan as quickly as we can our bodies, because oftentimes we think it's our mind reacting, but it's our body that's, are we digging our nails into our fingers? Or is our foot or knee going a mile a minute? We know this, right?
Yeah.
But again, sometimes we get so intellectual. I know I do, right? And sometimes when I'm talking about things, I can get so intellectualized. I'm like, wait.
For sure.
Can we just all stop and drop into our bodies and take 3 breaths together? Because there's something so beautiful about together.
Yes. Hell yes to that.
Right? And so, yeah, honestly, I think that those steps shouldn't ever stop, right? And I don't care who you are, right? Oprah, to whoever, like, I don't care who you are, those steps need to forever be there. And I think that those allow us to have space for the empathy, the humanizing of people. And I think it allows us to just be better fucking people, citizens of the world, as well as then I would dare say consistently getting uncomfortable and learning new things about our ancestry, our people. What did they do? Did they talk about feelings? Maybe they did, and then they were harmed culturally for doing that, and it shut certain people down, right? Or maybe our people had great magic, whatever that means to them, right? And then colonization came and then imposed Christianity in some way, shape, or form on it. Or so again, when I say the political, when I talk about that, it does not only like black or white or red or blue, but we're talking about like, when have we been taken away from home with a capital H, right? When have us and or our people, whoever our people are or have been pulled out of what has been natural to our systems, to our cognitions, right? Or maybe I'm supposed to wake up at 10 instead of 5. I don't know. I should have made an excuse. Or maybe I need to wake up. I'm used to waking up with the roosters because my people planted seeds and fed the animals and the chickens. And I'm supposed to have a long morning that lasts into whatever. And so when we slowly return to these things, I think, in my humble opinion, we start rooting ourselves. We feel a little bit more grounded, a little bit more tethered, right? We're a little less, did you just talk about white people? Wait, did you say white? Caucasian? No, right? Or maybe we won't be as activated, right? When we say certain words and we're like, oh, yeah, my people went through a lot of harm too. And so imagine that on this scale and still being perpetuated. Can I have empathy for that without me too? But like, can I drop and be like, this is important. And right now in this year, in this place, in this space, in this note in history, in this multiverse, right? Like, it's important that these stories are also heard in this way. And maybe they couldn't have been heard like this 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's what comes up for me is fear of knowing ourselves, fear of what will excavate, fear that we'll be obliterated and that our stories will not be important. And a reminder that we're all important and we're all walking each other home on some level and we're all needed in whatever's happening.
I think you're spot on. Fear. Yeah. And I wonder too, if a part of that, the guys talking sports around the barbecue, I wonder if a part of what we do sometimes as humans is gravitate toward these avatars that are built in these societal structures that are fostered by capitalism and these systems, right? Like, oh, this is my path and this is how we get there. And it's I'm not saying it's easy or hard or whatever, but it's like, it's the path and it's maybe comfortable and it's maybe it's a little less curious. Maybe it's a little less in the discomfort zone we're talking about.
Yeah. Right. It's like kind of socially acceptable. There's maybe less risk. I don't know. But then what is I don't know if risk is the right word. I can't think of the word. Maybe it's less risky in the moment, but I feel like long-term, there's more harm to like shutting down that portion of ourselves that wants to deeply connect on a slightly deeper level. I know I was telling you before we got on about this game. We're not really strangers. And some of the cards that were pulled and a person who I really dug, they were really great as my friend's partner, was just like, oh, I knew you guys were going to get to this part where it became group therapy because we know each other from a more therapeutic spiritual place. Right. And we all were grown. It was in jest. It was jokey. And then someone joked back, oh, but you keep coming back with your partner. And I said, well, do you, and I said, why does it have to be a group therapy thing just because we get real, right? Like, we're just actually saying, how are you? And we have a practice with each other, not just like, oh, I'm good. And then even if someone does that, like, oh, yeah, this one's here, my kid is here, one of us will say, and how are you? Like, purposely, like, and that was me last night. They were like, yeah, but Jen, how are you?
Yep.
And I was like, I didn't realize that like I needed to slow down into that. And I imagine that male identified people and men and the divine masculine, as going back to what we were saying in the parking lot. I keep going back to right, like I do think that there is some like, hey, I'm becoming irrelevant. It's like, fuck, like this scraping at the end of and I think there I don't know if has anyone ever slowed some of these folks down and just said like, hey, brother, chill out, right? Like this isn't the way to go about this.
Yeah. I mean, what is relevance anyways? What does that even mean, right? Like, what does that mean? I mean, do we want to be like a Renaissance artist? Do we want to I mean, like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if we impact and change one heart in our lifetime, is that worth it? I'd say so. Right? Like, what does relevance mean? And I think, and I want to dig into this with you because, renowned anti-capitalist. No, maybe not your renowned anti-capitalist, but I'm not a fan. And I feel like that sort of maybe psychological or drive toward maybe relevance or drive toward achievement and doing and checking of the boxes is influenced by capitalism. And then, of course, there's that, the crossover of capitalism and the mental health field.
Yes.
Which I know you have lots of thoughts about. So let's talk about that a little bit. Where is your headspace nowadays? Like, you're running decolonizing therapy. Obviously, there's so much room for progress in that field. I mentioned before, like I'm in the process of like trying to like infiltrate a local hospital to try to do some empathy workshops, and it's slow going because I feel like it's a big corporation and maybe there's like, what's the ROI here, right? Like, maybe there's something like that happening. I'm making an assumption, but like that happens, right? That happens, right?
Absolutely.
So where's your head at and your heart at nowadays on that topic?
Related to I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I guess capitalism and its sort of influence on the mental health field. Yeah.
Ooh. How do we like a dissertation?
I know. It's fucking big.
It is. It so is. Well, let me say, number one, it's so funny because sometimes people are like, okay, then what's the alternative? If you think we need to do away with mental health, maybe they don't say it in that tone. That's my projection. But like, what are we gonna do then? And it's like, no. Okay.
We don't live in a binary.
Right. It's not like one or the other. And I remember the days when I was sitting and holding this. I want to say this like I wasn't calling it decolonizing anything. I was just knowing that something needed to drastically and shift because it wasn't working for the providers, practitioners, and it wasn't 100% working for the people receiving. Although sometimes it helped to stop the bleeding, right? Or to help balance a person or get them what they needed. But I noticed over and over people that were unhoused or people below the poverty level that were not speaking English, what was happening, who were immigrants or migrant identified, that the things that would work for middle upper class people, no matter their race, were not working for the individuals that didn't have time to say like, hey, we need better mental health care. Because it's just like, I'm working 3 jobs. I have my partner's sick. Like, right. So I started humbling. I had to humble myself. And again, I'm speaking from a we for therapists. What I also realized is like, I have and had massive student loan debt. I need to get paid. Right. And then there was also, okay, well, if I go into private practice, a lot of people think like this, and I'm not poo-pooing it, and it's like survival as well, right? Well, if I'm going to hold space and I'm going to this, then I have to get paid. I can't keep doing community mental health or working at this place and not doing fee for service, right? Hence mental health industrial complex, right? Like or the healthcare industrial complex. Like, again, big words, but it's really, you can see how it happens and how how all of us get caught up into like, I got to survive. And oh yeah, part of the problem.
Mm.
Right? Because then it's like, well, if you go for fee for service practice or private practice, group practice, what have you, then I can charge a little bit more. I don't have to rely on managed care, who I'm making this up because I've never been in private practice or any group practice. But then I could charge, I don't know, I'm making this up, like 185, but then I'll receive maybe $80 of it or 110 of it. Right. So you're still not, you might be charging this, but you're still not receiving all of that.
Right.
Right. And so a lot of these therapists will go in thinking I won't have to use managed care anymore, which is great, except who can afford that? And who will you be serving or treating or whatever language you want to use? I don't agree with treating, but you know. And then we might say, well, then I'll leave these many spots for people that don't have access to services. But then let's be real. Things start happening. More people that have money are saying, hey, can I get in? Can I get in? Get it. And we'll also be real and say, yes, in general, holding space can be very draining across the board. But there's a very particular type of burnout, which I talk about and write about with therapists, that is working with people that are constantly in crisis, and that literally capitalism continues to suck them dry, right? Make them feel like you're not working enough, you're not doing enough. Meanwhile, I say this all the time, people that are at and below poverty level are some of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life. Generally speaking, of course, there are lazy people that are rich. There's lazy people on TV. There's lazy people that are poor. There's lazy people everywhere.
Yes.
So I say this to say that without knowing it, we're motivated by capitalism, right? And many, especially, I'm talking about therapists right now, and without wanting to be, because like many of us get into this field. I know myself, as well as other people that reach out to me on a daily basis, or I'm teaching or supporting or supervising or consulting with, like, this shit is killing me. Like, holding space, for people to talk about really dark shit sometimes, because harm is all over this world, right? And I can't do anything about it. And I'm just holding space. And I know some days that feels really good. And some days I don't even know if I'm making a dent. And some days the best I can do is refer them to a psychiatrist or tell them to get on medication or refer them to a holistic person, right? And what starts happening is no one's talking to them about boundaries on an energetic level, or whatever, no matter if you're agnostic, atheist, whatever, how to cleanse yourself, or what do you do to not keep holding and holding and holding? And I remember a teacher saying to me, all related to capitalism and overworking, right? Because therapists are cash cows for the mental health, for the fields of healthcare, right? Especially now. So if you think about everyone talking about mental health, right? We need it. Look at what's happening in this world. Yeah. And we can't staunch the bleed on something that is like been bleeding out, that is not our fault. And we cannot only collectively therapists handle it, right? This is a bigger issue, and everybody needs to be on board with why they're youth shooting everyone up, or, why they're harming themselves, or parents abandoning their children. Anytime I look at Apple News, I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I look at that? Right? It's just like, oh. And so mental emotional health is vital and necessary and important. And I think that some of my work in the world has been to say, hey, and we can't just be on the sidelines. We, as practitioners, social workers, whoever you are, right? Licensed practicing counselors, marriage and family therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, we can't just say, oh, well, I'm just trying to help and I'm making better in my neck of the woods. This is good enough. Right? Number one, it will continue to kill us if you're doing the work well. You're really holding space, even with boundaries. It's not enough, right? I went through burnout in ways that I don't even still have words for, and I'm still healing from it. It wreaked havoc on my hormones, on my relationship, and this is with having great boundaries and having a social life and having therapists and healers and acupuncture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And individuals being served are also not receiving the full extent, because especially if you're doing fee for service, right? Then Are you seeing 8 people in a day? 9 people? I can't tell you how many of my friends and colleagues are seeing 8, 9 people in a day, right? And props to them. But as anybody will tell you, after a couple of years, there's only so long you can do that for.
Right.
But if your mortgage is dependent on that, or your child going to school, that money, you will keep running yourself ragged to see 8, 9, 10 people a day. Some people, believe it or not, 12, 5, 6 days a week. And so what kind of care are we giving? Right. And so one of the best examples I've heard, again, was through People's Institute of Survival and Beyond. And they were appealing to us mental health workers for a second. And they told this story of, imagine being on the banks of like a river, right? And you're with a few friends, and all of a sudden you hear a cry and there's a baby in the river, right? And let's say I jump in the river because I have cat-like reflexes, not true, but and I jump into the river and I grab this baby and we're like, oh my goodness, there's a baby in the river. How did this baby get in the river? And so right as we're saying this and we're thinking, what do we need to do? We hear another cry. Well, there's another baby in the river. So what do I immediately pass over this baby to the person next to me. I jump in and do what I did, and I'm already wet, and mine as well. And I'm already in a crisis mode, right? If you follow me in the story. And this person, what do they do? Maybe they're checking the baby's vitals to making sure they're breathing, or they're giving them their CPR, what have you. Bring that other baby back. We hear another cry. That person passes the baby down, the first baby. We pass down the second baby. She's checking vitals. Third person is swaddling the baby, right? And this keeps happening and happening and happening and happening. And I can keep going and happening. And each person gets so good at doing what they do because they're good at it. So that feels good. It's natural, right? But we also never stop to say, hey, do you need a break? Is this still working for you? And really the big question is, why are there so many fucking babies in the water? Right? Wait, one of us or all of us have to stop and go downriver. And will we ever get downriver? Metaphorical. To be like, why are there so many babies in the river? Like, why are so many of our kids struggling with mental health issues, or diagnosed or misdiagnosed or overdiagnosed or overpathologized, right? Right. Why are there so many Black and brown boys that are in juvenile prisons, right? Are they inherently bad? I think not, right? Why? We're not asking these questions as mental health professionals. Now we're starting to, but we haven't been, because we've been taught to sort of be in the box. We've been taught to do a specific job in a specific way and not to really overthink, to be honest with you, right? I mean, that's starting to change. But even as I've said before, like our whole educations are sort of primed to be these cash cows. I'm laughing, but it's really not funny, right? Because really it makes me righteously enraged, which is why I do the work that I do, because we're getting used, and initially we don't know it. We want to freaking help, and we're good at it, probably, right?
Yeah.
We're probably super empaths. Most of us are. We have this way of helping people and holding space for people and making them feel seen or heard. Not all, but many. Or we're super also scientific and good at trying to understand the body, the mind, the spirit, the nervous system. How does that come about? Do we want to teach this? So we go into these fields with really good intentions, whatever good means, whatever, we want to give that a value system, right? Our intention may be pure enough.
Yeah.
But if I told you that I receive hundreds of sometimes emails or messages a day, and I can't get back to all these grad students of all ages, races, nationalities, and identities that are like, Dr. Jen, or Dr. Jen, I'm a therapist, I thought that I would suddenly feel better and that I would be helping people. Instead, I feel stuck. I'm in this rat race, or I'm not able to help people, or my supervisor is not allowing me to teach them how to fish. They just want me to keep giving them fish, right? Like I'm really stuck. How do we get out of this? Every single time someone has said they felt overworked, underpaid, underrespected. And so I think that capitalism has us by the, many of us, And I think that the goal is like, right, as long as there's sick people, whatever that means, you know, doctors will be needed and therapists will be needed if people are mentally, emotionally unwell. And as long as there's crisis in the world, managed care still continues to shine, right? Nurses are overworked, underpaid, advanced practice nurses. We could keep going on. And so, sorry, I probably mean to apologize, but probably I could keep going. But what I will say is one of my goals are to humanize for therapists and practitioners that it's okay to feel burned out, but it's not natural, right? Like you shouldn't feel shame for this empathy. I call it like a hangover, because that's what I felt this weekend. I was like, oh, I was holding space for way too much, too much pain. I can't think. I'm foggy. Mouth is dry. I just want to eat carbohydrates and sugar all the time. Like I'm feeling myself off. I need to do some breath work. We need to spend time around people that I love, that get me, that can feel me, because this is too freaking much. But we're not taught that. We're taught to just keep going. So the burnout, or whatever those symptoms are, compassion fatigue, I like to call it capitalism fatigue. It is understandable, but it's not freaking normal. Like whatever normal is, like we're not naturally supposed to be like that. The shamans, the healers, the people in our original lands across the world, right? They held space for people, but also the people in the community fed them, housed them, right? If need be, purchased tools, instruments, brought animal skin and pelts to wear, and all across the globe. And I've been writing about this recently and doing a lot of research. The original people that held space and that helped bring some level of healing out of the body and to the body were also held and taken care of. And they were not taking care of 70 families a month, right? Or 20 families a day, right? Or 20 people a day. So what we're being asked to do is historically unnatural, right? And we're also not allowed, when it comes to licensing and ethics and certifications, generally not allowed to bring in the holistic and the spiritual and the other world, right? Which is sort of, therapy's been co-opted from indigenous, and indigenous meaning all over the world, indigenous to Iceland, indigenous to Africa, indigenous all over the world. We have co-opted indigenous healing, but now we don't allow it so that we can capitalize off of these methods, whether it's tapping, that originated, right, from our Japanese people, chi, right, acupuncture, or people from the Amazon. I just learned this last year that I had ancestors from the Amazon that would tap with certain rocks or crystals on certain points in the body to open energy. And I remember hearing this from a person I was working with whose recent ancestors were from Peru and indigenous Amazonian. And I cried with them as we held space for what was lost from our people. And so I think this is a beautiful time of reclaiming, relearning, as I said, and re-acknowledging that our activism can come in the form of empathy. Our activism can come in the form of remembering what was forgotten, and as well as, hey, I do need to live, but I don't have to completely participate in this way, right? And what are some other options and ways in which we can hold space for people and bring this semblance and this energy of healing rather than over pathologizing and treating?
Yeah. Boy, that's a lot. It's a lot, Jen. It's disheartening, and it makes sense, and it's, it all makes sense to me, and it's also gives me some hope that you're doing the work that you're doing. I'm grateful that you're shedding light on it, because it's funny. Like I just think about, like, even nurses as an example, right, of this, right? From a public perspective, oh, we valorize nurses. We love them. We love them. Nurses are the best. Internally, oh, this system does not like nurses. It does not treat them well, right? And it's so weird. I mean, it's obviously not weird. We understand it. You just explained it. But it's so hard and it's harsh and it's upsetting.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a paradox, right? Like, here's the caretaker.
Yeah.
Nurses are undervalued often. Not always, y'all. Nurses out there, doctors out there, but often undervalued by doctors and the whole healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, they're cleaning heinies and, providing support and reassuring families or loved ones, or spending time with people that don't have families or don't know their name or in comas or in the NICU. We can keep going on, right? We can put teachers in that place, right? We can put one, and you're right. And I don't know, as you were talking, I was getting goosebumps because I thought to myself also, what is that, like, oh, you're a hero, and yet you're truly not really treated that way. Like the real deal. Let's get real about what's happening.
Well, the same would be said of therapists even, right?
Yeah.
We valorize therapists. They're great. They heal us. And yet it's very clear that the system does not treat therapists that way, right?
No, not at all.
It's terrible.
And we're not prepared. And that's the thing. And from family members and loved ones and clients, I don't think nurses are fully prepared or teachers are fully prepared, which is why you're finding so much healthy organizing and activism all across the fields and all across the world, because we know the rates globally of nurses through the pandemic and COVID-19, right? We know how they couldn't be around their families or had to isolate in order to keep their families safe. Like, when we know what that was like, and I can't imagine being a nurse and having to be on all the time and deal with that level of death, and then still have to work because I still got to bring money in, right? Or I used to love what I do, and now I quite don't, because I've also had some nurses that have not been so nice to me or my loved ones. And I have been like, if you don't like your job, because I'm stressed because someone is hurt or ill or dying, or, if you don't like your job, don't do it. Because my person needs you this right now, or my mom is really sick, or, and then realizing with that empathy, that breath, that how many people have they been sitting with today? Did they lose someone today? Did they? Let me go back and talk to them a different way, right? Knowing that activation, like, we're all activated. Our nervous systems are all on fight, flight, freeze. And capitalism and the powers that be won't have us slow down. Right? Won't allow for it.
I have deep empathy for certainly you, Jen, and my partner, Jessica, who is a community college English professor. She also teaches at a men's prison, English and writing and what I find so fascinating about it, particularly what she does at the prison, which is those guys are so focused and motivated and engaged, and she loves it. I mean, of course, right? They're engaged. They want to be there. They're motivated, right? And it takes a lot out of Jessica, right? Like she's like there, present, right? Empathetic, like deep empathy for them, right? And sometimes as part of that process, like the well is she doesn't have that to give for me in moments, right? And I need to remind myself that, like, that's part of it, right? Like, that's part of the ebb and flow of being in partnership with someone who is a helper, right? Who is a giver, who is a healer. She's a teacher, right? Another area of the world where it's like we valorize, and then the system, boy, oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah. And hearing you say that, again, bringing us back to like the divine masculine or masculine energies and men, and thinking, right, maybe if you didn't have some of that insight or that willingness to stop and be like, it's a lot of emotional labor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's not going to have space. And not in the moment that it always feels good. I know, we're human and we're in a relationship. And sometimes we want the love of that person in a different way than we imagined and they're giving it. But I'm just thinking of like more of that across the world, right? All across the world. And I do think it's important. And there is a beautiful, special place for men and men identified folks to continue to teach children and, how to do that and how to stop and think. And I've been thinking about kids a lot, maybe because those babies' lives were taken and that's been happening across the world, as we know, seen it all over the world. But there's something about, when a society really cannot, or a culture cannot take care of its children better, for me, feels really scary, And there's a part of me that feels like if we're not taking care of our children and making sure they're safe on all levels, right, including teaching them about healthy emotions and how to take care of their emotions, then what the fuck are we doing exactly? Right? If we're not taking care of the teachers and the nurses, then what are we doing? So I think it's beautiful that you can slow down, and thank goodness that Jessica and other people are not discarding individuals that are incarcerated, right? And I think that's so important, right? And it just reminds me also, again, another teacher, I'm always giving props to all the teachers because the stuff doesn't just magically come through any of us, right? I stand on people's shoulders and I've learned from so many people.
Absolutely.
But,
we are not individualists.
No. This one particular spiritual teacher of mine, when I was particularly overworking and doing 8 jobs in one at the university for the last 14 years of my life, said to me, we pulled a card. I'm really big on affirmation cards and all different types of cards and things of that nature. And it was a cow. I was like, oh. And for whatever reason, I had a really emotional reaction. And I started crying because the cow, for me, energetically looked really unwell and emaciated. And we were talking about me not having space to slow down, or me not having space to feel, or the burnout and all of that, and how angry I was. And I didn't know what to do with it. This is before this pseudo birth of decolonizing therapy. This is me like, I know something big is coming through me and I don't know what it is. Like, what am I doing in this world? Right? Just working. And I love people, but I can't keep doing this. And we're going through this. And she was, you know what happens to cows, female cows, when there's no more milk? And I'm like, am I dying? Is that what you're getting at? It's just like, well, some, but they start giving, or I don't even know what the right word is, blood. They start bleeding out slowly. It's like usually not just slow death. Like they'll keep trying to milk them, but blood will come out with some of the milk and so on. And
wow.
I clearly became very emotional, but it stayed with me. And that image and some people out there may be like, that's not completely true. That's it. Let's just say it's metaphorical. Okay. But I think it's true.
Yeah.
I've looked up things, but that image is what has also motivated this work, because I have embodied it and lived it. And that so have my ancestors from all angles of the world. My Irish and Italian ancestors, the Mullan, Talesis, as well as the Marks, and my Panamanian and my African side. And also, I've watched my mother, my aunt, my grandmother, not speak English and work in factories and hustle, come home and check the homework the best they could and feed the kids and sew. And, I've watched the overworking, even if it wasn't in professional sectors. I learned how to be a professional giver as well as many, right? From watching women, identified people in my family give until they were like literally bleeding to the knobs or became super sick, or right. I'm not saying they caused that, but I'm saying it's society that has done it. And I'm very clear that part of my work in this world, and I think many of our work in this world, is like to give what we can. What we've been given. And I believe like my ancestors have been like, hey, we're going to put you here and you're going to have this kind of smarts to be able to talk to people in this way And you're going to and yeah, you're going to have to go through some really tough things so you could feel it. Not just intellectualize it, Jen, because no one cares about that shit. But Jen, we want you to be an embodiment of what it means to start, I don't know, ever fully extricate ourselves from a system. Because I have a business. That's a capitalistic inventor, right? Like it's still, like I'm still part of this system. I'm not like, oh, I'm out of it. Like still trying to figure out how to do this authentically and not so fully in capitalism, right? And not my whole body, maybe a foot, right? But yeah, we're like, how do we do this? And so my ancestors, I'm very clear, also wanted me to know and want me to walk in this world where we humanize people, right?
Yes.
And then that's key and primary is to humanize and have relationships. Like, I don't hate all men. I don't hate all white people. I don't hate, but are there moments of fucking like, are there moments of like, I can't today. Right? like, are there moments of calling friends, three of us, three Black women, we call it like a plantation moment, where sometimes we're like, alert, I had a plantation moment. We need to process in the next 48 hours. Right. And literally they'll be sobbing. They'll be like, that was a microaggression. That shit hurt. I don't know why I can't let it go still. It just happened in the elevator. Like, oh, I don't need this in my day. And so, yeah. So my job is, I think on this earth right now is to embody that, to humanize it, and to be like, we're all trying to figure this F out, to also have that little insight, or, you know, have a doctorate, been through this, you know, and I've been trained in this. I'm trained in how to pathologize. Wow. I'm trained in how to treat, to look for the dysfunction, air quotes, if you're just listening, to look for the dysfunction, to hone in on it. If you think about it, right? It's kind of deep, right? Hone in on what's wrong with a person, air quotes again, come up with a solution in the way that I was trained, right? Or socialize, whatever word you want to put, brainwashed, trained, socialized, right? Like come up with a solution and then fix it, right? And if the person, quote unquote, cannot be fixed, right? And again, a lot of us do not operate that way. There's so many great therapists that do not operate that way, but we're trained in a very masculine, heady, intellectualized way. Most of us do not have classes on what to do when blank, what to do when a grandmother of the youth that you're treating brings you a big pot of arroz con pollo. Like they're like, no, you throw it out, you can't accept it. No, that will break that bond. What do you mean? Right? What if she wants to give you an air kiss every time she sees you and give you the sign of the cross, and you're Jewish identified, right? Or you're Santera, or that's not your, but you receive and you honor that for her. So that's what I try to teach people, right? Like we be fucking human first. We're conscious of all of our intersections. We're conscious of all the ways that we might have been harmed and we're activated. We're conscious of how systems are failing people all the effing time. And we're conscious of, we have to make space, not just for the treating and the healing, but being part of a solution. Because when we're not part of a solution, we start to feel extra helpless. When we're not part of a solution, we isolate more, in my humble opinion. When we're not part of a solution, we get into that I, me, ego, mine, fear more. And when we're not part of a solution, it's easy to get wrapped up in just everything that's wrong with the world, rather than like, hey, there's lots of millions of people out here that are also doing a badass job of making this a better world for the next 7 generations.
If you had a mic, it would be at this point where you would drop it.
It's so cute.
I love it. That's beautiful. I think that's a perfect place to start to wrap this up. But I did want to ask you, what's a moment of joy you've had recently that you want to share?
Yeah. Oh, so many. And that's good, right? That's what's making me smile. I'm like, yeah. A moment of joy I had was brother got married, right? But no sense. That wasn't the moment of joy though. But no, because I love my sister-in-law. But that wasn't it. Because my moments of joy are smaller, more gentle, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Parents came up from Texas, and Mom stayed with me. My mom is in her 70s, does not look it, that woman. Woo. And she stayed with me, and I was on been working, and I'm on a call, and she's cleaning and organizing, she's mothering, and I needed the mothering. And one day I said, we're going to go to the beach tomorrow, and it's a little chilly. We're going to the beach. And she's like, no, but I really want to do your closet before I leave. And I leave on Thursday, and it's the book, and you've been working so hard. And I said, Mama, let's go to just Jersey Shore. Right? It was right up 45 minutes, and it's a Monday. We're going to the ocean. That's what we're doing. It took us forever to get out of the house. It was like 2:00 in the afternoon. It's Maria and Jen. But we get there, and we didn't plan to go on the water or anything, just our feet. And there's a moment where she's like, I'm going to lay back, and I was like, yeah, close your eyes. And she kind of lays on her side. I didn't even have any chairs for her. Bad daughter, she's 73. But she lays back, and she looks so young to me. And so I'm getting emotional thinking about it, because my mom is like my bestie. Wasn't always that way. Gave her a lot of headaches, and I wasn't big mouth, as you can imagine. Always arguing, fighting something. But she laid out, and she went, she was like, our relationship makes me know that I can die happy. And she's like, spending time with you. And she's like, she was like soaking it in, and she's kissing my hand, and I'm like, Mama. And she's like, no, our relationship and who you've become. And she's like speaking like that, my mom didn't finish college, but she's super smart. And, she's like, the woman you've become, just like, I can breathe knowing this world is going to be okay with more people like you, you all fighting for something big. You've taught me that it's okay to speak up. And thank you for also showing me how to rest. And I thought, yeah, my mom would sit down for a second while doing a million things and think, I'm being lazy. Let me get up. And I'm like, you're not lazy. You're just resting. And so I don't know, that moment of joy, because it was about me. She could have said nothing about me, but to see her sitting back and closing her eyes and not needing to fill the space with doing for someone else for 10, 15 minutes was just, I was like, yeah, wow. Intergenerational healing is real both ways. She can help heal me, and I can help heal her and let her leaving this world, hopefully in 30 years or whatever it is, a little lighter, a little easier, a little better. So for me, that was joyful. Ocean, mom, wine in a thermos that no one knew about, Italian food afterwards.
Sneaky wine.
Yeah. What about you? What about you?
You were inspired by each other. That's beautiful. Yes. I love that.
Yes, we were. What about your moment? Your recent moment of joy?
So one weird thing that's been happening, I've had a headache for 4 months, Jen. It's just won't go away. So that's been making me feel off kilter. And I love nature. It humbles me. It makes me feel less alone. And I love to just go deep in the woods. And so I was able to get out up in Northern California last week for 5 days, backpack about a 40-miler loop up, and there was snow. We were about 10,000 feet up in elevation. There were river crossings, no one around. And on the last day, we hit sort of the loop part where we sort of did the whole loop. We were supposed to cross the river. The river was too high and intense to cross, so we had to scale a mountain. It was pretty sketchy and dicey for a course of a day, but it was actually really joyful, and I'll explain it. I've had a long history of being a little cavalier with my life and my body, and I think it's maybe partially due to having depression, but it's also partially due to me deepening my connection to presence and being still and understanding and knowing my body a bit more. And having confidence in I am physically strong. I am capable. I understand my balance, like, and leaning and anchoring in those things feels good. And so I was like feeling confident, and like I had two friends with me and they were feeling less confident. Maybe, and at least one of my friends was, and he was like he was processing some anxiety and emotions, and I felt like I was maybe like sort of an emotional stability for him, and that felt good. And while it was maybe a little stressful during that course of that day, at the end of it, we got to the last day. I was able to spend that afternoon just like looking at this beautiful lake and taking psilocybin mushrooms.
Yeah.
And watching the rocks, and no joke, like seeing what I saw are ancestors. What I saw are like people in the rocks looking at me and reminding me of, this is no joke, like this is what I saw, reminding me of all the people who have been here and have come before and who are important to the story of us. And it was really profound, as all of my mushroom experiences have been. And so that's a recent joy.
Beautiful, Nun. I love that. Thank you for sharing. That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. I'm glad you made it across those rocks and a mountain.
Yeah.
Really adventurous. Beautiful.
Thank you. So we always wrap up the show, Dr. Jen, talking about empathy heroes. So people in our lives, could be characters from stories or movies we like, even. I will go first to mention my empathy hero this week. My empathy hero this week is Dr. Ayesha Khan. She is the woke scientist on Instagram. And she has a new podcast called Disorderland, which is really fascinating. And you and Dr. Ayesha I don't know if you're aware of her work.
Yes, she's great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you talk a lot about similar stuff, but like her new podcast is fascinating. And it's like I've learned a lot in just the 3 episodes they put out. But I don't know. It's fascinating. She explores capitalism and the mental health space and psychology, and someone I would love to have on the podcast one of these days. But yeah, she's, I think, deeply empathetic, looking at all the stuff from a, scrutinizing, critical thinking lens, and a very compassionate, empathetic lens. So Dr. Ayesha Khan is my empathy hero this week.
I love that. Yes. Great. Yes. And I remember when they first got onto Instagram, and I've loved what they've done and where the conversations have gone. I agree 100%. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
The first person that came to my mind actually is a cyber friend. Also, I've met her through Instagram. She's a therapist, a writer, adoptee, and she is just a great individual all around. And it's funny, as I'm thinking about this, I'm just sort of like, how interesting how the internet brings people together, right? And how we end up finding each other. But her name is Lisa Oliveira, and many people have
Lisa
heard
on
Lisa
the
Oliveira.
show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How funny is that? Yeah.
Like a couple of years ago. Yeah.
That's amazing. Of course you have, right? Because I feel, when I think of Lisa and her energy and her transparency, and she sent along and gifted me one of her books. Her book, I say one because I think more, I think should come along. And she's such a beautiful writer, and be subscribing to her Substack. And I just love, the transparency, the authenticity, the honesty, and a sense of just like wanting to know, of like humanity and trying to see and be with. And so, she would be my empathy hero for this week. She's the first person that came to mind. So I want to honor that my body wanted to say that. Yeah.
Great one. She's a great one. Yeah. Beautiful writer. I also am on her email list. And just the way she puts words together.
Yeah.
Stunning. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Beautiful stuff. So, Dr. Jen, where can the Feely humans out there connect with you?
Yeah, thank you, Feely Humans. Well, new refreshed website is launching probably like next week. So stay tuned. But for now, you could still find us on www.drjennifermullan.com. Also on Instagram at Decolonizing Therapy, or on Twitter at Dr. Jenny Jen. But yeah, feel free to subscribe to our newsletter. You'll get a free graphic around rage and how to manage it, and not only manage it, but love on it a little bit and hold space with it. And if anyone is interested, there's a course, honoringrage.com, where you can do a little bit of work around kind of getting curious about this big emotion of rage and your relationship to it.
Amazing. Well, listeners, all of those links will be in the show notes at feelyhuman.co. Dr. Jen, what a delight this has been. You are a treasure of a human.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure. And thank you for exposing me to your community and your work. I just really love, and your podcast. I've been digging in, and thank you for your energy and presence in this world. The empathy with the sense of groundedness and gentleness is just really refreshing. So thank you for being amazing.
I appreciate that. And to you listeners, as I always say, I'm here, you're here, we're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring pale blue dot. We have each other. It's you, me, empathy.